It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for the morning. She is Mrs. Sarah de Guia. She is the Chief Executive Officer and oversees development and implementation of ChangeLab Solutions, which is the long-term goals, priorities, strategies, and budget. She is committed to applying her legal expertise and leadership experience to advance in equitable laws and policies that ensure healthy lives for all. Before joining the ChangeLab Solutions, Sarah worked at the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, first as Director of Government Affairs, and then as the Executive Director. Sarah developed and implemented policies, community partnerships, and research goals. She also expanded the organization through creation of a Southern California office and increasing the number of permanent staff members in Sacramento. Sarah's accomplishments during her tenure at the organization included passage of more than a dozen legislative bills to further health equity, crucial administration policies, and a dozen other legislative commitments. Sarah sits on the advisory committee to the Office of Health Equity at the California Department of Public Health. She earned her law degree from the Santa Clara University School of Law and her bachelor's degree in ethnic studies from the University of California at Berkeley. Welcome, Ms. de Guia, to our session this morning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brunson, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for having me here today. And first and foremost, congratulations on your amazing work. You are making real-time contributions to real-time challenges and barriers that we're facing as a nation and in the state of Virginia. I've spent the last 20 years of my career working on policy issues, and the issues that you've presented, the data and the solutions are all at a professional, practical, and accessible level. So I really just want to say congratulations. I learned a lot today. It was amazing. And I also want to just say thank you for allowing me to be here to witness your presentations and the result of your growth and development through this program. I have been through my own leadership programs throughout my career, and it's always, it's very special to be a part of a celebration and a ceremony like this. Happy birthday, Daniel, and congrats to Daniel, Arez, Isaiah, Odessa, and Akari for sharing your words and your experiences and your research. Those were all very, very important contributions as well. And thank you, of course, to Dr. Lucas for inviting me. So I work at an organization that conducts policy analysis, legal analysis, and technical assistance to community members and to governments across the nation on a lot of the issues that you are all talking about today. And we're grounded in advancing equitable laws and policies. And so I think part of what I wanted to do today was to share a little bit about my own personal journey with you all, and then hopefully just share a couple of words of kind of advice, looking back again at a 20-year career, and hopefully there's some nuggets there that can help you build on the foundation that you're developing here. Because I want to say we need many more social justice and equity advocates like you to be a part of this policy process. And we need to make sure that community members really feel a place in the policy process as well. And a lot of you spoke to this issue because, as you said, personal is political, and the decisions that are being made at the governmental level have such an impact in the real time of all of your lives, as you've spoken to today. And laws and policies shouldn't be this mystic place where nobody understands them. They should be understood by community members, and they should be accessible, and people should be able to engage in the process. So a lot of what you're doing and a lot of what we do, those are our aims and our goals. So I want to just share a little bit again about kind of what brought me into this work. So I'm going to give you a West Coast Latina perspective today of someone who kind of fell into policy. And I just want to start by saying, so my awareness, like many of you, really is driven by your own personal experiences, right? So I grew up in Sacramento, California, and I had family all throughout the Central Valley. So I grew up going to my bisabuela, my great-grandmother's house, and I loved hearing Spanish, and I loved tasting her food and celebrating the customs So when I asked when they were going to teach me Spanish, I was told, no, sorry, you're not going to learn. And I didn't understand why. So that left me a little confused, but also really curious. And someone who loved politics and also who loved history, I really sought out in my own history books, like, why would they make decisions like that? Like, what was going on? So my awakening came in college, and I went to college. So just to give you some context, I went to college at Cal when we were facing a very strong anti-immigrant sentiment. So this was in the mid-90s, and you may have heard about Prop 187, Proposition 209, Proposition 227. So these were anti-immigrant, anti-affirmative action, and anti-bilingual education initiatives. And they were all put forth on ballot initiatives to the public. And there was a really strong anti-immigrant sentiment and sort of pro-affirmative action sentiment that was happening in California. And unfortunately, it's, kind of took fire across the nation as well. So this political awakening, this time of like drastic change that was happening, these these pinpoints driven alongside my curiosity about my own personal experience, made me delve my research writing and scholarship into defining events for Mexican Americans. So I learned a lot about immigration laws. I learned about defining moments in Mexican American history, like the Zoot Suit riots and the Bracero program and many more. But I also learned a lot about the intersections between communities, and that how government would use similar tactics against Mexican immigrants that they used against Blacks and Chinese, way back when the railroads were being built. I learned about the ways in which immigration laws continue to ban certain immigrant populations when we became too overpopulated. So I started to really learn and understand and delve a lot deeper into the way in which government tended to use policies and practices against communities of color, but even more so to divide communities of color, so that we could never come together to unite and work together in a way that would fight for change. So out of all of this, I didn't really know what the pathway was forward. There weren't a lot of policy opportunities, or again, policy and law seemed very kind of mystic and out there for me. So I'm sitting in lecture one day, and there was kind of this defining moment for me where there was a local ordinance being pushed that was going to ban bilingual signs in Monterey Park, California, which is a pretty predominantly Asian American community, Chinese community. And that's when it all sort of clicked for me, where my family's desire not to teach me Spanish and I really saw these like strong policies that were being put into place, and it all sort of clicked for me. And I realized, oh, laws and policies is really where it can be at. While they can be tools to put communities aside, they can also be really strong tools to help enforce civil rights legislation, to help pass civil rights legislation, to help do things like defund police, defund ICE. And so equity has always been a part of my career, but it was really at that moment in time where it solidified it. So I've had lots of different experiences. What I want to do today is I want to highlight kind of 4 things for you all to think about as you continue through your processes. One is relationships. So if you think about everybody who's on screen or off screen, or you just think about everybody who is in this program, whether they're your mentors, whether they're your teachers, whether it's a congressional member, relationships are so important. These are the people around you who are going to be your future colleagues. These are going to be people who are going to offer you future jobs. These are going to be people who go on to get elected into Congress and who you're going to maybe work with to pass legislation. Holly Mitchell, the author of the Crown Act, was one of the first advocates that I learned from in Sacramento. So we're all connected, and we're all really, really close. And so the people around in this group is going to be a cohort you're going to see over and over again. Education. There are lots of different types of education. Some of it's formal, a lot of it is informal. You know that from all of your experiences. But the thing I'll say is that I did go to school, and I learned about policy, and I learned about history, and it gave me the degrees, but I also learned on the job. So taking internships, learning as much as you possibly can when you're working in a professional setting, I started off as an administrative assistant, and I learned how to treat my future administrative assistants by being one myself. So all of those things you learn on the job. Passion and curiosity are really important. So if there's an issue that you have a lot of passion for right now, carry that throughout your career. Don't be afraid to go deep. Really learn and understand and research. It will always come back to you in some way. You'll always be able to bring that particular piece of expertise to the table. For me, it was language access in healthcare. For you, it may be something wrestling and racism, right? So there's so many, a ton of different issues. Have that passion and curiosity to help drive you. And last and not least is that policy is a really important tool for change. And it's not just about legislation, as you've heard today. It's about public participation. It's about administrative advocacy. And it's really about what you learn in the process. So how can you make your bill or your issue stronger and better? While state and local policy may not be feasible, what can you do at the local level? And the beauty about policy are the people that you meet along the way and the process that you will learn throughout it. So again, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to be here to share a few words. I am here for if you need anything, if you'd like to talk more, I'm happy to share my information with you. But best of luck to you. Please don't be a stranger. I am now a part of your network, so feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.